to another episode of Beyond the Black Rims. I'm Mars Girl.
I'm Josh Knight the First.
Welcome to Season 4, Episode 5.
Or Episode 75, if you're counting.
I've already got our first story just sitting up there. I mean, I guess that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, we tweet about this sort of stuff. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Nobody cares.
No, nobody cares.
Pirate Bay! We've got Pirate Bay here! See, nobody cares.
Well, apparently somebody cares because it's not around anymore.
As far as we know.
How are you guys in the chat liking the way Hitbox looks right
Yeah,
now?
we got some swanky new digs tonight.
For those of you on YouTube currently, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But, actually it was my first time seeing what Hitbox had done with themselves tonight as well, as I logged in to prepare for the show. Maybe I would have seen it 2 days ago if I'd been around to do my normal gameplay streamings on Tuesday nights.
But we had a good reason not to.
We had a good reason not to. We were off and filming more. It was like our seventh day
of filming
for the Fami Kamen Rider movie.
Farewell, Fami Kamen Rider. And we got a lot done. I guess, I said so on Twitter, but we can say it here. We're about more than 2/3 of the way done with shooting. Just a little bit more to go. Hopefully we'll get the whole thing shot before the end of the year. And then
just worry about editing time, yeah.
Until MagFest comes around.
Which is, 2 or 3 weeks later. So, man, gonna be busy with that. So if streams are missed, there might even come a time where a show has to be missed because it's so important to film. I don't know when or why that would be right now, because that's not really part of the plan.
Right.
But I'm just saying, because the movie is so important, everything is a possibility right now.
Right.
What else is going on?
Well, I was mad at something earlier tonight, and then I got over it, so that was a thing.
It wasn't completely wrong, though.
No, it wasn't completely wrong. For anybody who's been paying attention on Twitter, I've had this big thing about the show Grace Point, which just wrapped up like 3 minutes ago over on Fox, which is an adaptation of Broadchurch that was on BBC America and BBC starring David Tennant. And for the longest time, this whole run, I've been complaining, oh, this is just like Power Rangers Samurai. It's almost cookie cutter, exactly the same, all the way up to who the killer is, because it's all about who killed this little boy in this small coastal town. And then tonight they reveal,
well, it's the same.
It's the same, but not quite. And admittedly, the very tail end of Grace Point pointed in a completely different direction. And I'm cool with it. I'm fine. They pulled it out.
But the build-up of carbon copying a series, for the most part, I feel like they may as well have just given us that show and just aired it here.
Well, because the way it works is that they basically took one of the possible endings for Broadchurch and then just used that over here.
That's true.
And it's the thing when we talk about adaptations, you want to see something that's a little bit more flavored differently than the original show. Otherwise, it's kind of that thing, with Super Sentai versus Power Rangers. When you bring Super Sentai over here, it develops its own flavor. Like, if you compared RPM, Power Rangers RPM to Go Onger, it's night and day. It's two completely different flavors, but with the same stock footage.
Hi, Cat. Don't shake the table.
Yeah, don't shake the table. Cat, do you want Mountain Dew?
There's not even Mountain Dew in that cup. I have all the Mountain Dew here in this 1.5 liter. I didn't even know they made 1.5 liters.
How did you not know? These things are awesome.
Because I don't drink that much Mountain Dew, but my Secret Santa apparently thought I needed to.
At least you get Secret Santas. I don't get dick. My job, they could care less about who feels happy around the holidays. And I'm sure a lot of people have jobs like that.
So, I guess at this point, it's okay to go ahead and talk about what our stories for the evening are, one of which clearly you can see. Our first story of the evening is going to be in regards to the Pirate Bay, who has had to, weasel their way out of situations before, but
this week.
Let's see them weasel their way out of this situation. They've been raided, and their hard drives all taken.
Servers.
Their servers have been taken, and police are now investigating them, so there's more details to that.
Yes. Our second story for the evening, of course, this past weekend, a lot of us had the opportunity to watch the stream of the Video Game Awards. It was a big weekend for video games with that, coupled with some news out of, or really not news, as it were, out of Square Enix and the
during
PlayStation...
the PlayStation experience.
During
so
the
really,
PlayStation experience, yes.
Really, that whole weekend kind of encompassed a big video game weekend within Las Vegas. All of that kind of seemed all connected to one another. Thus, it is all one story.
Yes. And then the third story, again, this is a very tech-heavy episode. Every so often we get, I guess, kind of unintentional themed episodes. But the third story, by now everybody's heard some form of news about this massive leak out of Sony. Information, emails being leaked left and right about what they thought of actors, deals still in the works.
And it feels like most of this that has come out has been in relation to Sony Pictures. A good hunk of it has been in relation to Sony Pictures. Not all of it, but a good hunk of it.
Yes. So we're going to talk more about that and how much of that to take with a grain of salt and how much of that will actually affect things that are coming down the pipeline.
Before you get to follow-ups, I do want to say thank you to our patrons over at patreon.com/MarsGirl.
Yes.
We did get another $10 patron, Alexander. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. I want to say this week we plan on doing our
new thing.
Yeah, our commentary reel on Jingle All the Way 2.
Which we did not know existed before Monday night.
Well, I knew that it was coming.
I didn't know.
I thought it was still being filmed. I didn't know it was already out, and then we drove up to a red box. So we've already watched the movie, we've already taken our notes, and so all that it takes at this point now is to sit down and record it.
Yes.
I would suggest we record it tomorrow, except we're driving to Houston to go see
the Final Fantasy Orchestra concert.
A New World Final Fantasy is a brand new set of orchestration for, you might recall Final Fantasy concerts had gone under the names Distant Worlds in the past. This is very similar, but apparently it's a much smaller, more intimate kind of feel.
I think it's been, what, like a little over a year since we attended Distant Worlds?
And that one was up in Dallas. So,
it's a great show, you know, even if you're not a fan of video game music, it's just a great orchestra experience.
And Arnie Roth, the director, is quite good and competent.
Yes, very competent.
And has been directing and orchestrating those concerts for years all over the world.
Yes.
So, very excited to see yet another one.
Yes.
So, anyway, let's go ahead and talk follow-ups.
Yes, follow-ups. We've got a lot of follow-ups. Lot of that.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to try and get all the stuff that's kind of lumped together out of the way first. So let's start with DC-related news.
Sure.
Okay,
Why
so
not?
First things first, we can confirm that Not Quite Justice League, Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, has finished their 8-month-long filming schedule.
Yay.
Why?
Why?
Why? Because the weird thing about it is they announced that they finished filming, but the weird thing about it was they Instagrammed this, like, 4 seconds of video of something. It's this black, twisted mass with snow on it. I have no idea what I'm looking at. And it's like, okay, what does this have to tell me about, you know, Not Quite Justice League? Is it Batman's cape? Is this part of a crumbled city?
So you're telling me you're not excited to try and figure out what this thing is?
You can't tell what this thing is. Your guess is literally as good as mine. But, of course, now that they're done filming, this leads to the next step, which means, where's the trailer? By this point, they have no excuse. They've got all their footage together. We know they've already cut something for this past San Diego Comic-Con. Where's our footage? That's what I'm saying.
You are so upset.
I didn't think I would ever be this upset about this movie coming out. If you had told this to, like, 10-year-old me, wouldn't have had it, but, you know, so is the way of things. On the plus side of things, we've got confirmation that next year, really next spring, over on TNT, they're going to start filming the pilot for Titans, which is going to be the Teen Titans live-action adaptation, centering around Nightwing and his crew.
Centering around Nightwing?
Yes.
Not around Robin, but around Nightwing.
But around Nightwing.
Okay.
So this is another iteration of Dick Grayson live-action, the last one, of course, being Chris O'Donnell back in the 90s. It'll be nice to see that happening. I hope it does as well as all of the other DC shows, which are really knocking it out of the park this week. What with both Flash and Arrow having their mid-season finales this week.
So right now DC is really strongly shining on television, not necessarily in movie format.
I would definitely say so. Arrow is bringing in solid numbers. Gotham, despite critiques, is still bringing in very solid numbers, and The Flash has just been amazing, which actually ties into the next piece of news. Thankfully, thus far, the Flash has been very good about casting members from the 90s series in the current run. You've got John Wesley Shipp, who played the Flash originally, now playing Barry Allen's father. We had Tina McGee show up this week. And now, one of the biggest names that was attached to the original run, Mark Hamill. Good old Mr. J, Luke Skywalker himself, who played the Trickster both in the original series and in a cameo in Justice League, the animated series, will again reprise the role of the Trickster in The Flash.
Kind of blows my mind, really. And if you ask me, Trickster isn't too far off from Cockknocker. Just
well, it's kind of the way they based. I would say they based Cockknocker off Trickster. Especially the design of the costume a little bit, or the
hair especially. I'm gonna say.
But that's really cool.
Because I didn't watch much of previous adaptation of television Flash, but I just can't help but picture Cockknocker instead. Because that's what I see most clearly.
Well, because what they're saying is, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that they're playing him a little, just a tad darker, that there's a copycat Trickster, and they're going to have to get him either out of prison or go talk to him in prison.
What if he is the copycat Trickster and this is all one big joke?
That would be pretty cool.
That would be kind of funny.
But the thing about it is, the prison they have him in is supposedly going to be the same prison where they have Barry's father, who is, of course, the guy who played the Flash before. So I'm hoping it'll be nice if they'd have a scene together.
Yeah.
You know, the two people reunited, the two actors in similar roles.
That's true.
Moving on, we've got two big pieces of information having to do with the Big G Godzilla. One, thanks to the information given out at the Video Game Awards, the Godzilla PS3 game will be released here domestically come this summer.
Woo!
Yes!
Too far away, but...
Yes, a good 5-6 months from now. So we gotta wait.
And the Japanese version is just about to drop, right?
It either is about to drop or it just dropped this week.
So why would it take that long just for... I mean, did they only just now decide, you know what, maybe we better translate it and localize it? Like, that could be the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, but that's kind of a late start on that, if you ask me.
Yeah, because these days, it's not that unheard of to release things almost at the same time.
Yeah, in tandem with one another.
Maybe 2 to 3 months
apart. Yeah.
And I can't imagine, is there an incredibly in-depth storyline mode to this Godzilla
Not as
game?
far as I know.
I cannot imagine that there would be. How much translation does it need? Like, seriously, 6 months worth of translating? I do not think so.
No, you get a fan with a wiki, with wiki access, and they could translate that game tonight.
I know, I'm sure somebody probably has.
I'm sure somebody, if it hasn't come out already, I'm sure somebody probably will very quickly, and we'll watch that playthrough on YouTube. But also relating to Godzilla, Toho, the company that originally created Godzilla, has announced they will come out with their own Godzilla movie very shortly. Well, not very shortly.
Yeah, not very shortly by any stretch of the imagination.
It'll be the first one they've done in 12 years since Godzilla Final Wars.
Which, that was where Zilla
bit it, yeah.
Bit the dust, right?
You know, how long was the fight? Like 40 seconds to the tune of Static X, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is pretty much the way it should have been.
Yeah,
that
that's
sounds
fine.
about appropriate.
So a lot of fans are very happy about this, a lot of Japanese fans, because some didn't exactly care for the Legendary Pictures version that they got this summer.
Yeah, because they're, and again, kind of a similar sentiment I had is that, was it tokusatsu to its truest form if it's not rubber suits? Now, granted, again, the phrase just means special effects, so it doesn't have to mean, like, all practical effects. It can also be post-effects, CG and what have you, but... Man, especially Japanese fans are like, it's not a rubber suit, it's not Godzilla. The Japanese fans were pretty upset about it. So.
Admittedly, after the movie came out, they released this nice, I think it's about $50 worth on Amazon, this blow-up Godzilla suit that you can buy. And I
What?
saw... Yeah, and I saw this guy...
Which Godzilla is it?
2014 Godzilla.
Okay.
Legendary Pictures. And this guy bought the suit, and he made this real quick video of him ripping the package open, throwing it on, turning on the little fan that blows it up, and then he set up some cardboard boxes in his hallway.
And
then
trashed it.
And trashed it to the tune of... Dun, 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 dun. Yeah. And, yeah, there's something inherently thrilling if you grew up on that. So... Are they going to have a rubber suit? My money's on yes for the Toho version, but we'll have to see how that holds up against Godzilla 2 once that, we get more information on that.
One question coming up in the chat, which I just think is interesting to address, is, so if they didn't care for 2014 Godzilla, does that mean even he's due for a Toho disc? I'm gonna vote no!
No, because Toho signed off more on this one than they did Zilla.
On top of that, they included Legendary Godzilla in this new Godzilla game released by Bandai Namco.
He is in the game.
He's a friggin' official dude. It's just Japanese fans are purist for rubber suits.
Well, that's the thing. Not all Japanese fans said that.
No, not all.
Hashtag not all fans.
Hashtag not all Japanese fans.
Or just hashtag not all fans. But you'll have your choice in the game. You can play as Godzilla or Legendary Godzilla, who's not really legendary. He's just New Godzilla.
Well, I say Legendary because he's the Legendary Pictures Godzilla.
Another interesting thing that we're hearing about is that apparently in a, Marvel, jumping to the other side, we talked about DC, now we talk about Marvel. Marvel has done amazing work getting a lot of really A-list actors to come out and be a part of their movies, even with Guardians of the Galaxy having dropped this week, who'd have thought you'd have, like, Glenn Close in there and Lee Pace, these
Glenn Close was looking strangely not older than the last time I saw her.
She ages very well.
She ages very slowly.
Yeah.
It's like she hit a point in age and then quit.
Right. Yeah, and, you have all these, A-list actors, Anthony Hopkins and Thor and whatnot. Well, apparently, of all people, Al Pacino met with Marvel this week.
See, Marvel already kind of had money to an extent, and now that they're under the Disney umbrella, they've got lots of money.
But see, this is the thing, though. Not only do they have money, now they've got prestige. Because now they've cemented, hey, we're almost done with our second run. We're going into round 3 here.
Balls deep.
Balls deep. You want in on this? And Pacino's like, okay, let's make it happen. I mean, that's my Pacino right there. But
which turns into Strong Bad.
Which kind of turns into Strong Bad. I try to do
Dear Al Pacino, how do you type with boxing gloves on?
See, now I want to see Al Pacino's face on Strong Bad's body, or vice versa. But, see, you think about this, we remember, like, what, a year, 2 years ago, we heard about Vin Diesel meeting with Marvel, and it was months before he could confirm, yeah, quite literally, I am Groot. So, if Al Pacino is meeting up with Marvel, there's a fair chance they've got something in mind for him. And my mind...
no, they just invited him over because they really like him a lot. He's a very likable guy.
Well, see, that's the thing. And then now the wheels are turning. Who could Al Pacino possibly play? My money's on MODOK. And Al Pacino...
MODOK?
Yes, Al Pacino...
Why?
Yeah, but...
Why?
Because it would be hilarious.
It would be hilarious, and I would love it, but why? Like, I would never picture that in a million years.
But you would go see it.
Of course I would go see it, but I would see MODOK, period.
Because you would see MODOK,
because
period.
I like the character MODOK a
lot.
Of course, I might be biased because there was once a time where Jim Cummings voiced MODOK, but...
Yeah, and you just love anything that Jim Cummings is in.
Exactly.
Okay, so rounding out a little bit more news, we got 2 more things here. One thing was that just, I believe, yesterday, the Mad Max Fury Road, I almost said Fury Road, trailer was released.
New fan art! Do it now! Mad Max Fury Road! I'm sure somebody's done it.
Oh, great. But yes, that trailer...
Go to DeviantArt! Find it!
No, we're not playing the DeviantArt game right in the middle of the show. Not right now. Somebody tell us about it in the chat session afterwards, but right now, no. But yes, that trailer was released online from George Miller, the guy behind all the Mad Max movies.
Well, duh.
This looks incredibly intense.
Well, yeah, it's just... It didn't look like it was not a Mad Max movie.
Yeah, my only thing is, Tom Hardy as Max, it's... he kind of looks the part, but there's just something not quite rough enough on him.
I'll say his face just looked like kind of confused, like, what am I doing in this movie? Is what that trailer... Everything else around it was pretty okay.
Very Mad Max.
But his face just sort of said, do I really want to... I'm getting a paycheck. Oh, God. Alright, what are my lines?
You don't have any lines, just drive the car.
Oh, I can do that.
Okay.
So, I'm sure it's going to be fine.
I'm sure it's going to be fine.
Because all you need to know about Mad Max is post-apocalyptic world, something happened, explosions, cars, dirt, desert, and then one day the animators over at Toei said we should combine this with Bruce Lee, and then we got
Fist of the North Star.
Which, by the way, we took the intro to Fist of the North Star and played its music over on top of this new Mad Max trailer.
And it's synced up.
It was hilarious. It was hilarious.
Yes. And then the last piece of news we've got in the follow-up section is that apparently today the official names for the new characters in Star Wars The Force Awakens were kind of, sort of, but I don't say they were leaked. Basically, they were made known to people. So I'll just list them off really quickly. The X-Wing pilot's name is Poe Dameron. Daisy Ridley's character is known as Rey. John Boyega as the Stormtrooper, his name is Finn. The ball droid is known as BB-8, and the lightsaber-wielding character is apparently known as Kylo Ren.
So, I mean, none of those things really give me much insight on anything. Just, yay, they are characters that have names attached to them. So they were on Topps trading cards. Who got these images? Where did these images even come from?
They were apparently put out through Entertainment Weekly.
Okay, so they were officially given to Entertainment Weekly.
Some people keep saying leaked, but it's like, no, if Entertainment Weekly got them, that's kind of official. I mean, it wouldn't be the first time somebody said, oh, they got leaked, and then they had to pull something, but by this point...
See, I'm not the only person who said that this Kylo Ren sounded familiar, so I went and I looked up Ren, right? And I was like, man, I've at least heard a Ren before. I found that a particular Ren, I forget his first name, is in...
I thought it was a her.
No, it's a him.
Okay.
He's in the Old Republic. Yeah, Star Wars The Old Republic, and was a Jedi Master. I mean, this, of course, is in Old Republic, so it should be, you know, centuries upon centuries old before this movie timeline comes out. Very likely they have nothing to do with one another, and considering one is a Jedi and the other is plainly Sith, I mean, it's not like it's the first time we've seen somebody go from Jedi to Sith, but, I mean, they probably don't have anything to do with each other. I'm just saying Ren really stuck out in my head.
Well, we'll see. We haven't seen this character's face yet, so that'll probably tell us once we get more pictures.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, that's all of our very, very long list of follow-ups. Let's get right into our first story.
Okay, I already have the picture up! Yay!
Oh, you're ahead of the game here. Good job. Participation ribbon. Okay, so, Pirate Bay...
Woo!
...is a site which we don't officially condone as far as the show is concerned, but it is the site that makes things very, very easy to watch.
It is an aggregator site of torrent files, is what it is. Some torrent files are held on their servers, some they're just kind of pointing you in the direction of the torrent file, and they would sit there and kind of go, haha, screw anybody who wants to come after us for our goods. We're over here in where? Sweden?
Stockholm.
Stockholm. So, you guys can't do anything to us. So, very frequently, they've, you know, changed URLs, and then laughed in the face of anybody who's tried to go after them before in the past. That's not going to be happening this time.
Right, because, you know, whereas some people might have gone there to watch things like Flash or Arrow or any, you know, big show, Game of Thrones, what have you. Apparently this week, police raided the place that housed their servers and computers, which held apparently terabytes, which makes sense, terabytes of information and shows and some music, but mainly the shows are what they were after.
Shows and movies, I'd imagine.
Yes.
Because Hollywood they claim they take huge hits from pirated copies of their films.
Which is weird when you consider things like Netflix. Netflix specifically looks out for what's being most pirated and uses that as the gauge for, okay, we're going to go ahead and get that show
and license that for streaming.
That was the case with The Blacklist. You know, they saw how many people wanted The Blacklist, or Game of Thrones for that matter, and they were like, okay, that's got high traffic from pirating, let's make it legal. And sure enough, that's how a lot of people watch that. But now, of course, these servers have been sieged, computers have been sieged. There have been at least, I believe, 2 people charged in relation to infractions of copyright law.
Now here's my question, because they kept laughing in the face of specifically American entertainment, because I think American entertainment has been the largest group to cry out and be like, stop stealing our crap!
On average.
On average, we cry out the most. And they're like, haha, you're Americans, and we're in another country, what are you going to do? One thing I think we should look up real quick, and I intended to look it up, and I didn't do it. Has Sweden signed the Berne Act, spelled B-U-R-N-E, or is it B-E-R-N-E? It's one of the two. It ends with an E. The Berne Act was something signed by a whole bunch of different countries at some point in the 80s, which acknowledged that these different countries would acknowledge one another's copyright law. So, you know, some countries, you can get away with that crap. Some countries, like, I think it would take being out on a boat in the middle of
international
waters where you have satellite internet connection in order to be like, haha, you can't get me out here! But you still might have to be like, okay, I can't provide these files to people in these different countries that signed the Berne Act. Like, you can still share it with other countries who are all living out there in no man's land and didn't sign this crap. But that's what basically
well, if we're talking about this was, you know, Sweden, Switzerland, yes, Switzerland signed it.
Switzerland signed it, but Switzerland's not Sweden.
Right. Let's see, Sweden, yes.
Okay, so that's exactly why. That's why they've gotten their asses handed to them.
Yep.
So it makes absolutely perfect sense why they've been raided. And you know, it's not just movies, it's not just TV, it's not just music. Software, okay? Software, video games, editing software for visuals and audio, all that stuff could be grabbed off of Pirate Bay, and some people are going to be hurting looking for really expensive copies of Adobe sometime in the future. But then again, Adobe recently has been putting out, you know, slightly older versions of their software for free, and really, their most recent copies aren't really necessary to get if you're just trying to do basic stuff.
The thing about it that I think a lot of people are wondering is that whether or not they actually managed to get all of their information, whether or not they actually managed to charge anybody, is that going to stop the site from coming back on in some way, shape, or form within days, within weeks? I give it, at the most, weeks.
I mean, no matter if Pirate Bay is down, somebody else is gonna rise up and be like, well, we've gotta be the new pirates. Like, the internet's not just gonna lie down and take that, because the internet is, everything is legal here, because this isn't real world, this is the internet. And so I'm not sitting here condoning anything, I am just saying it's gonna friggin' happen.
Yes, because somebody will take it upon themselves to change into a digital champion to save the digital world from having to pay for things.
Because that's what the digital world needed saving from, right?
Yes.
You would also mention to me that they took down some website that was associated with the guy that running
one of the people who had he ran his own business of I believe it was hosting sites. His site has gone down as a result. There have also been 2 other sites, pastebay.net and bayimg.com, which have also gone down. The Pirate Bay's forum has also gone down. It's it's looking very large right now.
Uh-huh.
And looking at this article as well, they're saying that they've raided a place that was apparently built into a mountain. The Pirate Bay had a mountain.
Stupid evil lair.
They had a mountain fortress.
I'll get you this time, Hollywood.
And then Hollywood was like, "Bump that! We're sending in Chuck Norris, and we're gonna." Delta Force thing, just making sure. But yeah, it's kind of very extreme, the levels that people will go to make sure they don't have to pay to watch True Detective.
They will build an evil lair into the side of a Swedish mountain.
Like I'm just thinking, spitballing, if you're going to go that far to build your servers into the side of a mountain, do you take the extra steps to go ahead, like some people are saying in the chat, and carve out the skull into it just to make it a little more obvious? Do you
the skull and crossbones?
Because you're pirates,
Yeah.
and you have to do that. Your secret pirate stash of every episode of Friends ever. Even though you could watch that on Netflix, but no,
I need the good seasons of ER that had that guy that became Batman in it.
Oh man, it's just a bit extreme. But it's interesting enough because, yeah, this ends up in its own way affecting a lot of people. From, yes, admittedly doing illegal activity, but it's kind of the weird thing, like we say about this place we call the internet. When something like that happens, people are like, "Hey, I was gonna watch that. Now I gotta wait. Pay money."
Well, waiting is for sissies. I'm not gonna wait. I can't handle waiting. Instant gratification right now.
Yes.
If Pirate Bay won't do it, then I'm gonna have to do it some other way.
Some other way. So that is the current news on that as of today. Maybe this will change, and maybe it'll be a follow-up by next week.
Probably.
More
than likely.
Yes.
What was our next piece?
Video games.
Okay, so the Game Awards were a thing.
And very long.
Very, oh my god. So...
Very drawn out.
What there is a difference between the Game Awards and the Video Game Awards, specifically Spike TV's Video Game Awards, which apparently is not a thing because now we have the Video Game Awards. And the Video Game Awards were streaming live. Specifically, they were on Twitch. I want to say that they streamed elsewhere too, but they were absolutely specifically streaming on Twitch for hours.
Hours. And it was as if the video game companies came together and decided, you know how the Oscars are long and boring, but people still sit through that? We should emulate that. And so this thing dragged on and on and on, and if I swore by the end of the night, if I had to hear the words world premiere one more time...
World premiere.
Oh my god, shut up!
World premiere.
No, just tell me who won, best shooter. Come on.
World
No! And that's how it was. If any of you guys saw this, you know I'm not lying.
Yeah, it was basically the World Premiere Awards.
Which were not really awards, it was just showing a lot of trailers.
Yeah,
Admittedly, that Bloodborne
looks pretty good.
Looks sick.
Which also, because this story is tying in hand with the Sony experience, the Sony experience also had quite a lot about Bloodborne.
Yes.
So I think they had a booth there where some of it was being demoed. That sounded pretty awesome. But as for the Game Awards, you've got a list of some of the awards.
Yes, we got things like Best Fighting Game went to Smash Brothers.
Yeah, I was a little shocked about that. I'm not gonna lie, a little shocked. I was pleased well enough, but shocked.
One of the ones I know deserved it. Best Independent Game, Shovel Knight.
Oh, yeah.
Shovel Knight. If you haven't picked it up, what are you doing with your life? Go pick up Shovel Knight.
I wasn't sure how to feel about Best Performance was Trey Parker as various voices from South Park, The Stick of Truth, only because, he does that already, every day of the week, preparing for the next week's episode.
Right.
Of South Park. So, and he himself said, only in these awards can I beat out Kevin Spacey. And the clip they chose for Kevin Spacey in, what was it? It was Call of Duty,
Yeah,
right?
Advanced Warfare.
was a good clip. Like, he was really freaking acting his heart out.
Yeah. Like, you know, nowadays, when we're actually dealing with better mocap and we're actually getting full faces in there for stuff like this, like Beyond Two Souls, you know, we're actually getting the actors there. Yeah, that was amazing to see that they fully captured a Kevin Spacey performance, and yet Cartman beat him. Okay, fine.
Okay. I mean, that's
then
cool.
we got, what else do we get here? Game of the Year, of course, went to Dragon Age Inquisition.
I was pretty pleased with that decision.
Pretty pleased with
that. That was okay, yeah.
Let's see, Trending Gamer went to Total Biscuit.
Yeah, that was kind of like, wow, so now we're awarding YouTubers and we're awarding esports teams of the year and esports players of the year. Now, those were under fan choices. Though that was amazing. Best fan creation, Twitch Plays Pokemon, which I did admittedly watch and scream at. No, Red! Go left! Go left, Red! No, don't go down! No, you're going back into the arrows. They're just pushing you back! Red! No, don't go into the start menu! No, you don't need to pull up that Pokemon! Stop! And then it turned into...
But our savior, the Helix Fossil.
And then it turned into fish playing Pokemon?
Yeah, and they still managed to win. Eventually.
Eventually.
But of course, that makes sense because that's the fans choosing that one. But you look at that and you can say, yeah, it's better than the Spike version. Because on the Spike version, you get a lot of people on that show, or you had, I should say, a lot of people on that show, you know, don't really care about video games, much less have ever held a controller before.
Yeah, there were a lot of weird performances that had zilch to do with gaming. Whereas here, admittedly, they did have at least 2 interesting performances. One was
that guy,
whoever that guy was. I can't remember his name. They just introduced him by his first name.
Yeah, and he did this nice melody. Medley. I'm sorry, not melody.
First using a keytar, and then switching to these light sensors that coordinated with light keys on a keyboard. And,
right.
They were laser lights shooting up, and you just hold your hand over it to hit a note, and it sounded electronic, and it was a medley of what... Mario, Zelda, I don't know what else.
Tetris. And then at the end of the show, they were teasing the whole time they were going to have Imagine Dragons come out, and then thankfully...
And I was like, I have no idea what this is going to have to do with gaming, but okay.
But then they did a couple of nice renditions of some Zelda music.
Well, they did some Zelda, and then what's his Zelda composer? Somebody's gonna, like, throttle me for not knowing his name, was on piano there, doing a piano solo, again, doing Zelda-themed music. Then Imagine Dragons went into their own piece, and I was like, okay, you tied it in, and you had a Zelda composer.
Oh, and then they did have Lindsay Sterling for a second there, right?
Yes?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she was there.
Good for her.
Good for her.
She's allowed.
She's allowed.
She's allowed. Koji Kondo. Yeah, that's the guy. That would be the guy.
But, you know, that was the awards for you, but that wasn't all that happened that weekend. They also had the PlayStation Experience.
Right, so this was all one big Sony showboat session. Lots of S's.
Lots of S's.
Lots
oh,
S's.
Don't want to forget the very end with us getting a look from what Nintendo's putting into this new Zelda game.
And confirmation that that we are, in fact, getting another Star Fox. I mean, we kind of already knew.
Yeah, we kind of already knew, but I kind of.
I liked that tease.
Yes.
Personally. But people have been. You got to see kind of how this new Legend of Zelda for Wii U is going to look.
And most people came to the conclusion it's Zelda meets basically Skyrim.
Zelda meets at least Elder Scrolls of some variety. And this map you're looking at looks really, really huge.
Yes.
People are already trying to interpret, okay, what part of Zelda world, what part of Hyrule does this look like here? What people are trying to interpret it like it means anything to them right now, and every Zelda game looks
But for the most
different,
part, everybody's responding to that as very yes.
Very positive. And then Reggie was there, being Mr. Brown Reggie as always, leading the boring hype train as always.
Yes.
But good on you, Reggie. There was a lot of... There was so few awards actually given out during the show, and so much world premiere.
Stop it.
And interviews that went on and felt really dragging and lackluster. And for some reason, the audio was really poorly engineered, dropped out in weird places. It was kind of bad.
Yeah.
But you're right. There was also the Sony experience.
Yes, and I think one of the most positive things out of that was, I believe, was it No Man's Sky? No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, which a lot of people have been hyped about for a long time. There was more than just, that trailer that we saw earlier in the year. Now we've seen quite a significant amount more. It sounds like you can play with other people, but they don't want you to think of it as a multiplayer game. They want you to think of it as an experience, which is pretty cool. Really, the most time I spent paying attention to the Sony experience was during basically their opening ceremonies, which took a couple hours in and of itself. There were some of those world premieres.
Stop it!
From the night before, so it wasn't all that exciting. But then, okay, I have to get into this.
Yeah.
Because you knew that this was coming.
To round this out, yeah, okay.
You knew this was coming. All right, so...
Everybody's talked about it. We're going to talk about it. So, Square Enix...
Yeah, we leave it at that. No, Square Enix is not very smart these days. And I don't know how many times I have to say that, but apparently I have to keep saying it. Because, okay, so, dude from Square Enix comes out on stage like he's got some big news, right? And he starts off with, 17 years ago. And everybody knows that 17 years ago Final Fantasy VII came out, so the whole audience, just after hearing 17 years ago, is already, like, crapping their pants.
Yes.
Right?
Like,
they don't even have to hear anything. They're just like, oh, please, just get me all the way there at this point.
Very much so. And Square knew this.
Square knows. They are stupid, but only to a point. But they comprehend to a certain level, and then their level of comprehension doesn't get past that mark.
Is there a level of chaotic stupid that we can classify them? Can we classify Square's chaotic stupid?
I wish okay. that was.
But sure enough,
an
he's
alignment.
Like, now for PlayStation 4, and then here's the trailer.
We are now unveiling Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation 4, and the audience is going, oh
God! Just let me see the graphics. Just let me see the graphics.
See, now I'm watching it live,
please.
right? So I'm watching it live, and I'm like, well, I didn't hear him say the word remake.
Right, the operative word.
Part of me was like, well, he wouldn't be up here if he was just talking about something stupid like a re-release, right? But then the other part of me was like, but he didn't say remake. I'm not stupid. I know I've been waiting for all these years and listening to all these people say, they're gonna do it, and I have to keep talking other people down like, no, they're not fucking gonna do it.
Because you've had to talk yourself down, too, realizing they're not gonna do it.
Well, because I actually don't want it, but that's a completely different story.
Unless it's a retranslation.
It has to be a full retranslation, or else I don't want it. I don't even care about the graphics. I just want a retranslation. That's it. So anyway, then the trailer starts playing, and everyone's like, ah! Ah! And this trailer plays out, and you keep thinking, all right, it's in this tiny little window.
Yeah.
And the borders of the screen are like the life stream from Final Fantasy VII.
And then Sephiroth there, and the flames, and
don't
you're like,
let Sephiroth get to the promised land.
And I'm like,
again.
Where's the remake footage? Where is it? Where is it?
And then finally, after like 2 solid minutes of you just sitting there watching this footage that you've seen 80 bajillion times over the last 17 years, then it goes, coming next spring or whatever to PlayStation 4 2015, and then the trailer's over. And then you cut back to the audience, and first it's silence, and then it's and then it cuts to a shot of the audience where they're doing nothing. And nobody is happy. Not a one and the guy is still standing up on stage talking like he just unveiled the most epic news ever. And he's like, this will be released exclusively for PS4, as if it's not already on other systems. It will be the PC version. how amazing! That's so novel! That's so novel, Square! I don't know where you get this stuff!
And at this point, you hear the music playing in your head, and you see the people in their minds grabbing for the pitchforks, ready to throttle Square.
Yeah, because then the footage hits YouTube, right? And there's only, at last check, there was approximately 2,000 likes to 13,000 dislikes. And it's like, how much of a more clear picture can we paint for you, Square Enix? This is like the complete opposite of what anybody wants. Nobody wants this except for the one person who only owns a PS4 and does not own any other copy of Final Fantasy VII. But, I mean, everybody else, you can get the PS1 copy, you can get the 1998 PC release, you can get the 2013 PC release, you can get the PS3, PS1 Classics version, where
you can get it on Steam.
Which you can, that's what I'm saying, the 2013 PC release, you can play it on your PSP or your PS Vita. You don't need a PS4 copy, which you are now, I come to find out today, it's gonna sell for $16, which is like $4 more expensive than you can get it for PC. It's really stupid because it's the exact same thing. Also, come to find out, they're re-releasing the re-release of Final Fantasy X and X-2 for PlayStation 4. Why? Why?
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay.
And like this was all they had to offer at the PlayStation Experience, right? This was all they had to offer. They didn't have Kingdom Hearts 3 stuff to talk about. They didn't have
that's it. They're gonna dick around. They're gonna dick around and be like, it's just this. It's not getting any better. Thank you for paying attention. If you weren't done with Square Enix by this point, you might as well be done now.
like this is why everyone is saying, man, that was trolling to the nth degree.
Yes.
Because I can't help but feel like they knew exactly what they were doing, but it doesn't mean they won't freaking do that.
Yeah.
Just dick with you at this point.
Yeah.
Oh, I could go on. I'm not joking.
I know. I know. I've had to hear it. I've had to hear it since this weekend. So let's in the time we have left, go on to our last story.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Just take a second. Have some Mountain Dew. Have some caffeine. Calm down. Okay. So while you're drinking that, I'll go ahead and fill in. So for the past week, Sony has had a number of pieces of sensitive information be made available to the public, having to do with their Sony Pictures division and how, what their actual official opinion is about certain actors, about certain deals. One of the big things sticking out to me specifically is the deal that was supposedly supposed to go down, or in some news articles still going down, having to delegate whether or not Sony will license or at least lease out the Spider-Man character back to Marvel for the purposes of sticking him back into the Civil War movie that they've got coming up.
It almost happened. Almost. I do have at least one site saying that the deal is still in the works. Now, admittedly, if they get this thing worked out, for any of you who are familiar with the storyline, hell, if you even played Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, you know how big of a role Spider-Man has in that story. He's basically the audience as far as that story is concerned, because he's got to go one way or the other. Does he go with Cap and fight for, no, this is the right thing to do, or does he side with Iron Man? No, we have to try and defend ourselves and make sure we have better regulations for superheroes. And he's really at the heart of the story. But the thing about it is, Sony doesn't seem to be able to make very good business decisions. And there's enough news going around that the parent Japanese branch might force them to have to make the decision, no, we need the money, make the freaking deal, and make it work now. Well, yeah, because Sony is bombing real hard, and especially thanks to the hacks, it makes them look incredibly incompetent, and has leaked really embarrassing things from really high-up individuals, and I can guarantee you things are going to crash and burn for a little bit before they get better. It also sort of reveals just how poorly set up a lot of security systems for a lot of major companies really are. I'm going to let this much out. There are companies that I have / do work for that could be a lot better in their security setup, and they're too lazy to do it. It's not just the companies that I've worked for, it's like, I want to say one article said like 80% of companies are not up to par because they don't want to they don't want to pay the money it takes to keep this kind of crap from happening. It's this way with Sony and Target and Home Depot and whoever else has been hacked within the past year or two.
At least in the last year.
They don't want to... I can tell you, I know from personal experience that the tech guys don't want to upgrade their software until Microsoft's like, hey, we're not going to support XP anymore. You need to quit working on an operating system that's like 12 years old. And then only at that given moment are they like, oh crap, we better throw something together, but they have to jerry-rig it, right? So to like freaking emulate Windows XP on Windows 7, which is still equally as stupid.
Right.
In fact, more stupid perhaps. And then they don't want to upgrade hardware because, yeah, hardware is expensive. But at the same time, you're working with real sensitive information and you don't want to upgrade hardware? Okay, I will wait for you to cry into your beer over,
why your system got hacked,
why your system got hacked. And companies don't do it because they don't want to pull money out of their pocket. But if they wanted to keep money and keep money coming in, maybe they should think about it now that a number of hacks have actually happened quite successfully and leaked information out to the public. Information coming out of Sony that's worse than knowing about a deal between Disney and Sony over Spider-Man include really racist-sounding things out of Sony Pictures producers about the President of the United States, calling their actors, saying that they have super egos, and
apparently some social security numbers got leaked.
I can tell you, Conan O'Brien's social security number.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I know Sylvester Stallone's got leaked,
and
but I didn't know about Conan O'Brien.
Judd Apatow's and
Judd Apatow.
And yeah, Conan O'Brien's was one of those things leaked. So many email conversations back and forth containing sensitive information. Like, this is really embarrassing and really detrimental. This is not good.
As a company, you can't afford, if you're already doing bad and thinking about making these deals, you can't afford to have one, bad press, and then two, find out, oh, there's more, you've been talking crap. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm not going to do business with you, or I'm going to make it that much harder to do business with you. Because I look at it from that standpoint, you know, for me as just a regular person who watches, you know, media, if I was Marvel and I saw all of this unfold, I would offer them less money to get Spider-Man back because, oh, you guys thought you could charge a premium? How about now, huh? Huh? What you gonna do about, you know, because that puts you in a bind. Mm-hmm. Sensitive material gets leaked out, you're not in a position to wheel and deal like you thought you were. Mm-hmm. You know, you're throwing your weight around, and then sure enough, you threw your weight too far away from security. That's where you're most sensitive.
So there's a number of people who are like, it was the North Koreans. The North Koreans totally did this.
Okay,
and I'm like,
so,
does North Korea have the technology to do this?
Well,
people are saying they do.
The one thing,
all because they're pissed about the movie The Interview?
Which they're saying is about, that actually this is the one good thing for Sony out of this, is that they want people to associate the hack with North Korea, if only to build hype for people to go see the movie.
So you think that it's, in its own way, propaganda.
It's advertising.
Uh-huh.
Because, you know, them saying that, of course, is ludicrous, because we all know North Korea has no technology beyond the year 1981, if I'm not mistaken. So, if that's really their saving grace out of all of this, that's not much.
I would sooner believe it was anonymous, quite frankly.
Well, really, all anybody had to do is just stay at it for long enough. It could have been a group of people, it could have been one person. Mm-hmm. But either way, we live in this age where these information leaks are happening weeks apart, you know, like, what do they call it?
Months, if not weeks. Yeah.
The unfortunate incident known as the fappening. You know, that was...
What? Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
The cell phone image nude
flood
leaks, which I didn't bother to look at because it was none of my business. So.
Yeah, but you see things like that happening more and more often nowadays, and it makes you think not so much about, you know, who's in trouble or who should have been doing what. Really, what I think it points to is a matter of security. You make sure the stuff is as safe as it possibly can be. Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, there's a certain point where somebody's going to find a loophole, but for the most part, you do everything you can to make sure that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. And much less a person in celebrity status, much less will they be thinking about it or know the steps to take. How much more then would a company like Sony have access to people who could stop that from happening? And yet, they let all of this information, even more information probably will get released by the end of the week. At this rate, because stuff seems to be appearing every day.
From an article I was pulling up, Sony is essentially DDoSing themselves in order to slow down access to their own stuff, so that they can go, oh crap, let's patch up this hole that they got in through. Because the hole is still there, and they're still very quickly pulling out more information from it. So Sony's current means of defense is sending DDoS attacks against themselves to slow down accessibility to Sony servers and information. Like, I don't know why they're not on complete lockdown right now.
Yeah, see, my thing is,
I guess because business has to go on, but... I'm sorry, I would say that this is a pretty big deal, and you guys should probably fix it first.
I was just watching some Fast and the Furious movie yesterday. I think it's the most recent one. And even they knew, they're trying to get some information out to somebody, turn off the servers, block the information. If stuff is connected to the internet, turn off the router, unplug the cable, unplug the thing. Like, have you guys not watched movies? Like, I get that works.
What is your tech support guy telling you to do? If he's not telling you at least to turn it off and then back on, I don't know what your problem is.
Yeah.
I don't...
Was it Nedry?
Was it Nedry?
It was probably Nedry.
It was probably Nedry.
He's probably selling the information to the North Koreans. They didn't do it, they just paid him. That's what it is.
I'm sure.
It was Nedry.
I'm sure that must have been it. We probably could go on and on about, look at all these different things that we're pulling out of Sony left and right. I think all I need to leave off with is that kind of security breach, and the way companies handle it is absolutely terrifying, and many companies could learn from this. I don't think they will until it happens to them.
Yeah.
It's very, very
because
unfortunate.
Security leaks can happen to anybody. Like, look, your ear is not secure. Look, a quarter.
Oh, please.
That's my one bad joke for the night.
Okay.
That's a lie. Okay, so we thank you guys for sitting with us for another hour. We know we've been talking a lot, but we're going to talk some more for the next half hour.
For those of you who are here in our chat, yes, if you're watching us on YouTube, you should be down here with us.
Yeah, come on.
On Thursday nights.
How long have you been watching?
Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Central. After the show, we always do our half an hour Q&A session with everybody here in the chat, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys for an additional half an hour. So keep hanging out with us.
Yes, and for the week until the next show, you can always talk to us over on Twitter. I'm at Josh Knight First.
And I'm at Mars Girl.
So that having been said, this has been this week's episode of Beyond the Black Rims.
Beyond the Black Rims. Bye!
We'll see you guys next week.